Welcome to Veterans Speak. We are a voice for those who have served this nation with unwavering courage. We are here to shine a light on the battles that continue long after our heroes have returned home from foreign shores. Today, we delve into a deeply troubling issue that affects countless men and women who wore the uniform. We are exploring the cold, hard truths of the VA healthcare system, a system that was established with a solemn promise to care for our defenders. For too many, however, this promise has been eroded by neglect and bureaucracy, leaving them to navigate a labyrinth of confusion and delay when they are at their most vulnerable. They served with honor, they faced down danger, and sacrificed years of their lives for the freedoms we all cherish. Upon returning, they carried not only memories of their service but also the expectation of care, a fundamental assurance that their country would stand by them. This was the covenant, the sacred trust between a nation and its warriors. The Department of Veterans Affairs was meant to be the embodiment of this promise, a sanctuary of healing and support. Yet for an alarming number of veterans, the reality they encounter is a stark and painful contrast to the care they were led to believe would be waiting for them, a shadow of the commitment they so rightfully earned. Imagine returning home, seeking help for the visible and invisible wounds of service, only to be met with a system that seems designed to obstruct, rather than assist. The battle was supposed to be over, but a new one begins, fought not on a foreign field with weapons and armor, but in sterile hallways and on endless phone calls. This is the unseen battlefield where veterans wrestle with red tape, administrative hurdles, and a profound sense of abandonment. It is a struggle for basic healthcare, a fight to be seen, to be heard, and to be treated with the dignity and respect that should be their indisputable right. This episode is dedicated to uncovering this difficult reality. We will not turn away from the uncomfortable truths or the heartbreaking stories of those who feel forgotten by the very system created to protect them. We seek to understand how a promise so noble could become so compromised. The journey home should be a path toward healing and wholeness, not a descent into a new kind of struggle against a faceless and indifferent system. Our veterans deserve so much more than what they are receiving, and it is our duty to amplify their voices until that promise is finally and fully honored for every single one of them. The expectation of care is not a request for a handout. It is a debt of honor owed by a grateful nation. When service members enlist, they accept a profound risk, placing their well-being in the hands of their country. In return, the nation pledges to care for them when their tour of duty ends. This promise is the bedrock of the relationship between the military and its people. It is a message that says, your sacrifice will not be forgotten. For many veterans, this promise represents a beacon of hope, a guiding light that helps them navigate the often difficult transition back to civilian life, assuring them that support will be there for them and their families. However, the journey home often reveals an unexpected and arduous struggle. Instead of finding open arms and efficient care, many veterans are confronted with a bureaucratic maze that seems almost impossible to navigate. They encounter crowded waiting rooms where time seems to stand still, and they spend countless hours on hold, listening to repetitive messages that offer little comfort. The hope they carried with them begins to fade, replaced by a growing sense of frustration and despair. This new fight is not for territory or for freedom, but for a simple doctor's appointment, for a mental health consultation, for the basic health care they were promised. This struggle is a silent one, fought far from the public eye. It is waged in the quiet moments of desperation, when a veteran realizes that their calls are not being returned, and their paperwork has been lost once again. It is a battle against a system that often feels understaffed, underfunded, and overwhelmingly indifferent to their individual needs. Each delay, each unanswered question, and each dismissed concern chips away at their spirit, making them feel less like honored heroes and more like inconvenient statistics. This is not the homecoming they envisioned, nor is it the one they deserve after their selfless service. The emotional and spiritual toll of this fight is immense. To serve one's country with distinction and then feel disregarded is a profound betrayal. It fosters a sense of isolation and can worsen the very conditions for which they are seeking treatment, such as post-traumatic stress and anxiety. For many, it feels as if they have been left behind on a new kind of battlefield, one where the enemy is not a foreign power, but the very system that was meant to be their ally. This is the heartbreaking reality we must confront, a reality where our veterans are still fighting, long after the war is supposed to be over. The promise made to every service member is a foundational pillar of our national identity. It is a solemn covenant, an unspoken agreement forged in the heart of a country that sends its sons and daughters into harm's way. This promise declares that when their duty is done, they will not be cast aside. It assures them that a system of care will be waiting, ready to mend the wounds of service, both visible and invisible. This is the essence of the Department of Veterans Affairs, or the VA. It was not created as just another government agency. It was established as a testament to our nation's gratitude, a living embodiment of the honor and respect we owe to our defenders for their immense sacrifices. This promise is woven into the very fabric of military recruitment and service. Young men and women are told that if they dedicate a portion of their lives to protecting our freedoms, their health and well-being will be safeguarded long after they hang up their uniforms. This assurance provides a crucial sense of security, allowing them to focus on their missions with the knowledge that their future is not being mortgaged for their present service. It is a powerful motivator, a moral contract that underpins the all-volunteer force. The VA, therefore, represents much more than just clinics and hospitals. It symbolizes the nation's commitment to uphold its end of this sacred bargain with those who have given so much. The hope this promise represents for a returning veteran cannot be overstated. After months or years in environments defined by structure, discipline, and often intense stress, the transition back to civilian life can be disorienting and challenging. The VA is meant to be a steady hand in this turbulent time, a reliable resource for comprehensive medical care, mental health support, and assistance in navigating the complexities of post-military life. For a soldier returning from a combat zone, the promise of the VA is a promise of a soft landing, a place where they can find understanding and specialized care from professionals who recognize the unique challenges they face. This is the ideal, the vision of what the VA should be. It is a system designed to honor service, not to create new struggles. It should be a place where a veteran's identification card is a key that unlocks immediate and effective support, not a ticket to a labyrinth of waiting lists and bureaucratic indifference. The promise is one of seamless, compassionate, and high-quality healthcare, a system that proactively reaches out to ensure that no veteran falls through the cracks. This is the standard against which the VA must be measured, and it is the hopeful expectation carried in the hearts of veterans as they begin their journey home. The VA system was designed to be a comprehensive sanctuary, a place dedicated entirely to the unique health needs of our nation's veterans. The promise extends far beyond treating battlefield injuries. It encompasses a holistic approach to well-being, acknowledging that the burdens of service are carried in the mind and spirit as well as the body. This means providing world-class care for everything from chronic pain and exposure to hazardous materials to the deep lingering wounds of post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury. The system is supposed to be a leader in veteran-centric medicine, staffed by experts who understand the context of military life and the specific health risks associated with it. This promise offers a profound sense of hope to those returning home. It tells them that they will not have to explain their experiences to civilian doctors who may not understand the source of their ailments. Instead, they can turn to a dedicated network of facilities where their service is not just acknowledged but is central to their treatment plan. The VA is meant to be a community of care, a place where veterans can connect with peers who share their experiences, fostering a sense of camaraderie and mutual support that is essential for healing. This vision of the VA is one of a safe harbor, a place of refuge where the invisible scars of war can finally be addressed with dignity and compassion. For many, the VA represents the primary and sometimes only path to recovery. Upon leaving the military, veterans lose the structured medical support system that was always present during their service. The VA is intended to fill this void, ensuring a continuum of care that helps them manage long-term health issues and transition smoothly into their new lives. This includes access to specialized mental health services, counseling for families, and programs designed to help them cope with the psychological impact of their service. The hope is that this support system will empower them to build healthy, productive lives after their time in the military has concluded, honoring their past while enabling their future. The system's promise is also one of accessibility. It is meant to be a nationwide network, ensuring that whether a veteran lives in a bustling city or a remote rural town, they can access the care they have earned. This includes not just physical hospitals but also telehealth services, community-based outpatient clinics, and mobile medical units designed to reach every corner of the country. The ideal is a system that removes barriers to care, making it as easy as possible for a veteran to get the help they need when they need it. This promise of a readily available, expert-led sanctuary of healing is what gives veterans the confidence that their country truly has their back. Beyond the walls of the clinic and the hospital, the promise of the VA extends to being a fundamental pillar supporting a veteran's entire post-service life. It is not merely a healthcare provider but a partner in their successful reintegration into society. This broader promise encompasses critical benefits like the GI Bill, which opens doors to education and a brighter future, and home loan guarantees that help veterans and their families achieve the American dream of homeownership. These programs were envisioned as tools of empowerment, designed to provide a stable foundation upon which veterans could build their civilian lives, ensuring their sacrifice translates into opportunity and security for themselves and their loved ones. This comprehensive support system is intended to address the whole person, recognizing that well-being is about more than just physical health. It is about having a purpose, a home, and the skills needed to thrive in the workforce. The VA's vocational rehabilitation and employment services, for instance, are a key part of this promise. They are meant to help veterans with service-connected disabilities prepare for, find, and keep suitable jobs. This commitment sends a powerful message: your service is valued, and we will invest in your future success. This holistic vision of support is what makes the VA's promise so vital. It is a pledge to help rebuild a life, not just patch up an injury. This promise acts as a critical psychological safety net. The transition from the military can be abrupt and isolating, stripping away the identity and community that defined a service member's life for years. The knowledge that the VA is there, offering a spectrum of services, provides a sense of stability during this vulnerable period. It represents a constant in a world of change, a reliable institution that understands their journey. For a veteran struggling to find their footing, the promise of the VA is a reminder that they are not alone, and that there is a system, however imperfect, that was created specifically for them, ready to assist with the challenges ahead. Ultimately, the promise made is one of enduring respect. It is a commitment that a veteran's honorable service will be met with honored care for the rest of their days. This is the ideal that fuels their hope upon returning home. They envision a system that works for them, that respects their time, that listens to their concerns, and that delivers on its commitments with efficiency and compassion. This promise is the standard of care they rightfully expect and profoundly deserve. The hopeful vision of a welcoming sanctuary quickly dissolves for many veterans upon their first real interaction with the VA system. Instead of open arms, they are met with the cold, hard reality of waiting. The journey begins not with a consultation or a treatment plan, but with a seemingly endless stay in crowded waiting rooms. These are not just physical spaces filled with chairs and outdated magazines. They are liminal spaces where hope begins to erode. Time stretches and slows, each ticking minute a stark reminder of a promise deferred. Here, veterans who were trained to be punctual and efficient are forced into a state of powerless patience, their urgent needs placed on an indefinite hold. This initial wait is often just the beginning of a much longer and more frustrating journey. Securing an appointment for even a basic examination can take weeks, and in many documented cases, months. The process is a convoluted maze of phone calls, referrals, and scheduling systems that seem designed to discourage rather than facilitate care. A veteran seeking help for chronic pain or a looming mental health crisis is told to wait, to call back, to hold the line. This labyrinth of delay is more than an inconvenience. It is a direct barrier to healing. For someone wrestling with the invisible wounds of war, a 3-month wait for a therapy session can feel like an eternity, a period in which their condition can worsen dramatically. The experience is profoundly dehumanizing. Veterans are transformed from respected heroes into faceless numbers on a waiting list, their individual stories and urgent needs lost in a sea of administrative backlogs. They sit for hours in sterile, overcrowded rooms, surrounded by others who share their frustration and growing sense of abandonment. The camaraderie that once defined their military service is replaced by a shared sense of neglect. They see the exhaustion on the faces of the staff and the despair in the eyes of their fellow veterans. and the promise of a grateful nation begins to sound like a hollow echo from a distant, more optimistic time. This reality of perpetual waiting stands in brutal contrast to the promises made. A system that was meant to provide swift and specialized care has become a symbol of institutional inertia. The very act of seeking help becomes a new source of stress, compounding the issues for which they need treatment. They are told their service is honored, yet their time is treated as if it has no value. This is the first and perhaps most jarring revelation for many veterans. The promise of care is conditional, subject to delays and obstacles that the system itself creates, leaving them trapped within walls of waiting, just out of reach of the healing they were assured would be there for them. Once a veteran navigates the initial waiting period, they are often confronted with another formidable obstacle, a mountain of paperwork. The system seems to run on a fuel of forms, files, and procedural red tape that can feel intentionally complex and bewildering. Every request, from a simple prescription refill to a claim for a service-connected disability, requires a meticulous paper trail. A single missing document or an incorrectly filled out form can result in significant delays or outright denial of care. This administrative burden places the responsibility squarely on the shoulders of the veteran, forcing them to become expert navigators of a system that should be guiding them with a compassionate hand. This relentless paper chase prioritizes procedure over people. The focus shifts from the veteran's well-being to the flawless completion of bureaucratic requirements. Stories abound of veterans being denied essential medical equipment or life-sustaining treatments because of a clerical error or a lost file. They spend countless hours gathering records, making copies, and submitting the same information multiple times to different departments that seem incapable of communicating with one another. This process is not just frustrating, it is a profound betrayal of trust. It sends a clear message that the system's internal rules are more important than the human suffering it was created to alleviate. The emotional toll of this bureaucratic battle cannot be understated. For veterans already struggling with cognitive issues from a traumatic brain injury or the overwhelming stress of PTSD, managing complex paperwork can be an impossible task. It becomes a full-time job for which they are not equipped, leading to immense frustration, anxiety, and a deep-seated feeling of helplessness. They are fighting for their benefits, for their health, and for their dignity against an opponent that is faceless, impersonal, and unyielding. This is a fight they should not have to wage, especially after already fighting for their country on battlefields far from home. Ultimately, this bureaucratic entanglement creates a system where accountability is scarce. When care is delayed or denied, it is often difficult to pinpoint who is responsible. The blame is diffused across a network of departments, regulations, and procedural steps, leaving the veteran with no clear path for recourse. The promise of a caring, responsive system is replaced by the reality of a rigid, impersonal machine. The paper chase ensures that the institution protects itself, often at the direct expense of the men and women it is supposed to serve, leaving them exhausted and alienated by the very process meant to help them heal. Behind the long waits and the endless paperwork lies a deeper, systemic problem. The VA is a system stretched to its breaking point. For years, demand for services has outpaced the resources allocated to meet it. Facilities that were built decades ago are now struggling to serve a growing and changing veteran population with increasingly complex medical needs. Chronic underfunding has led to a cascade of failures, from crumbling infrastructure and outdated medical equipment to an inability to hire and retain enough qualified medical professionals. The promise of world-class care is impossible to deliver when the foundational resources are simply not there. The most critical shortage is often in personnel. Many VA hospitals and clinics are severely understaffed, particularly in crucial areas like mental health, specialty care, and primary medicine. The remaining doctors, nurses, and administrative staff are often overworked and overwhelmed, trying to manage impossible caseloads with limited support. While many are dedicated public servants who genuinely want to help, they are caught in a system that sets them up for failure. This burnout leads to high turnover rates, which further disrupts the continuity of care for veterans, who may have to restart their journey with a new provider every few months, retelling their painful stories over and over again. Budget cuts and financial mismanagement have a direct and devastating impact on the quality of care. When funding is insufficient, hard choices must be made. Programs are scaled back, services are consolidated, and facilities fall into disrepair. A veteran might find that a specialized clinic they relied on has been closed, forcing them to travel hundreds of miles for treatment. They may discover that the VA is no longer covering a specific medication or therapy that was essential to their well-being. These decisions, made in distant administrative offices, have life-altering consequences for the men and women on the ground who depend on these services. This reality of a strained and depleted system is a far cry from the robust, well-resourced network that was promised. It is a system fighting to stay afloat, often sacrificing quality and compassion in the process. The dedicated staff within the VA do their best with what they have, but they cannot work miracles. The failure is not theirs alone. It is a collective failure of a nation to properly invest in the long-term health of its defenders. The result is a system that consistently operates in a state of crisis, unable to fulfill its core mission and leaving countless veterans to suffer the consequences of its limitations. The cumulative effect of these systemic failures, the delays, the bureaucracy, and the resource shortages, manifests in the quality of care itself. While some VA facilities provide excellent service, many others fall tragically short. The VA's own internal rating system reveals a startling disparity, with a significant number of its hospitals receiving a rating of only 1 star out of a possible 5. This is not just a statistic, it is a damning indictment of the care being provided at these locations. It means that veterans in certain regions are receiving a standard of care that is officially recognized as failing, a reality that is both unacceptable and a national disgrace. This poor quality of care is often experienced as impersonal and dismissive treatment. Veterans report feeling like just another number, a case file to be processed, rather than a person to be healed. Appointments are often rushed, with doctors spending only a few minutes before moving on to the next patient in a long line. There is little time to build a rapport, to listen to their full story, or to address their concerns with empathy. Instead of a collaborative partner in their health journey, the provider can feel like a gatekeeper, more focused on metrics and efficiency than on the patient's actual well-being. This clinical detachment deepens the sense of isolation and betrayal. In the worst cases, this impersonal approach leads to misdiagnoses and inadequate treatment plans. A veteran's complex symptoms, rooted in the unique experiences of military service, may be oversimplified or misunderstood. Instead of comprehensive care, they might be sent home with a bottle of pills and no plan for follow-up or therapy. This pill-for-every-ill approach can be dangerous, masking deeper problems and sometimes leading to dependency issues. It is a shortcut taken by a system that lacks the time and resources to provide the holistic, personalized care that is so desperately needed, especially for those dealing with mental and emotional trauma. This is the unveiled reality that shatters the promise of honored care. It is a reality where the system designed to be a sanctuary becomes a source of further harm. To be treated with indifference by the very institution that represents the nation's gratitude is a profound wound. It invalidates their sacrifice and reinforces the feeling that they have been forgotten. For too many, the VA is not a place of healing but a place of heartbreak, where the cold reality of a broken system delivers failure instead of the compassionate care they were promised and have so rightfully earned through their service. The transition from a respected service member to a patient within the strained VA system is often a jarring and deeply demoralizing process. Within the military, identity is paramount. You are a soldier, a sailor, an airman, a Marine, defined by your rank, your unit, and your shared mission. You are known, and your role is valued. Yet upon entering the labyrinth of VA healthcare, this sense of individual worth can be systematically stripped away. Many veterans describe a profound sense of becoming invisible, their unique histories and sacrifices compressed into a case number on a screen or a name on a sprawling list. This is the beginning of the heartbreak, the realization that you are no longer a person to be honored, but a problem to be managed by a faceless bureaucracy. This feeling of being just another number is reinforced at nearly every turn. It is present in the crowded waiting rooms where no one knows your name and in the automated phone systems that trap you in endless loops of pre-recorded messages. It is felt during rushed appointments where a physician, burdened by an overwhelming caseload, barely makes eye contact while typing into a computer. The system's focus on metrics, appointment quotas, and procedural compliance often overshadows the fundamental human need for connection and empathy. A veteran might pour out their heart about a deeply personal struggle, only to receive a generic response and a standard prescription, leaving them feeling unheard and profoundly alone in their pain. One veteran, a former Army sergeant who served 2 tours in Iraq, shared his experience with stark clarity. "I went in seeking help for panic attacks and insomnia, the ghosts of things I saw over there," he recalled. "The doctor I saw spent maybe 10 minutes with me. He never asked about my service, my family, or what I was going through. He just looked at my chart, said it sounded like anxiety, and wrote a prescription. I walked out of that room feeling smaller than I ever did in a combat zone. I wasn't Sergeant Miller anymore. I was just another case of PTSD to be processed and filed away. It was utterly dehumanizing. This process erodes the very dignity that military service is meant to instill. The uniform, a symbol of honor and respect, is replaced by a hospital gown, and the sense of purpose is supplanted by a feeling of powerlessness. Veterans who once commanded respect and authority are now forced to plead for basic care, their voices lost in the institutional noise. This is not just poor customer service, it is a form of emotional and psychological neglect. The system, in its cold efficiency and impersonal nature, inflicts a new kind of wound, one that makes veterans question their own value and wonder if their sacrifice ever truly mattered to the country they served. Their sacrifice must be honored with action, not just words.
Their voices must be heard.
Veterans deserve better than silence and neglect.
The system's failures are not just paperwork. They are wounds that never heal.
These stories demand more than sympathy. They demand change.
The heartbreak is real and the betrayal is deep.
The damage is profound and lasting, leaving veterans feeling betrayed by the very country they swore to defend.
Each account is evidence of a widespread crisis, not just isolated anecdotes.
Their stories reveal a system where bureaucracy has triumphed over compassion.
These are the voices of the forgotten. Veterans who held up their end of the bargain, only to find the promise broken.
A Marine with a traumatic brain injury was sent home with pills and no follow-up. No one called. My wife became my case manager. Without her, I would have fallen through the cracks.
A young female veteran from Afghanistan sought help for depression and trauma. I finally asked for help, but the wait for a female therapist was 6 months. I felt abandoned. I had to pay out of pocket just to survive.
A Navy veteran from the Vietnam era fought for years to have his Agent Orange exposure recognized. They told me my health problems weren't related to my service. I submitted paperwork, saw countless doctors, but it felt like they were waiting for me to give up or die.
The heartbreak of the broken VA system is best understood through the personal stories of those who have lived it.
Only then can true healing begin.
The journey back is long, but it starts with acknowledging the depth of the wound.
Before healing can begin, trust must be rebuilt in institutions and justice and in the possibility of goodness.
Restoring health means addressing this spiritual injury, not just the physical or mental.
The loss of trust in institutions can lead to cynicism, despair, and withdrawal.
This spiritual wound is the hardest to heal. It attacks the foundation of a person's worldview.
I served honorably, but when I came home sick, the country I loved turned its back on me. That broke something inside me.
When faith in the nation is shattered by neglect, veterans question the very principles they fought for.
The betrayal by the VA system inflicts a deep spiritual wound. The culmination of neglect and spiritual crisis leaves veterans with a spirit deeply bruised, a constant reminder of a broken promise. The hope they carried home is replaced by exhaustion and a relentless battle against bureaucracy. They are tired not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually forced to fight a new war for the care they earned. This battle drains their resilience, leaving little energy for healing or rebuilding their lives. The pride in their service is overshadowed by the bitterness of betrayal. The VA's failure is not just administrative, it is a moral failure, a broken pact between nation and defender. Each forgotten veteran is a stain on our national honor. The true heartbreak is not from the wars fought, but from the peace that failed to deliver on its promise.
When all else fails, many veterans turn to faith for solace and strength. In moments of isolation, prayer becomes a refuge, a place to voice pain and seek understanding. In prayer, they are not a case number, but a cherished soul, heard and understood. Faith becomes an anchor, offering resilience that the system cannot touch. This spiritual connection provides hope, even in the darkest valleys. Turning to faith is not ignoring the problem, but finding the strength to endure it. In quiet moments, veterans reconnect with purpose and community. This spiritual grounding is the foundation for rebuilding lives and hope. Many veterans find comfort and strength in Scripture, a field manual for navigating heartbreak and betrayal. Verses like, "He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds," become personal assurances. Stories of David and Job remind them that suffering is part of the human journey, even for the strong. Scripture affirms their worth when the world tries to diminish it. Holding on to these truths is an act of spiritual resistance and healing. The Word sustains their spirit, shifting focus from broken systems to unfailing promises. In God's eyes, they are never forgotten, and restoration is always possible.
The discovery of faith and solace is a vital lifeline for our veterans, but their personal spiritual resilience does not absolve our nation of its profound responsibility. The systemic failures of the VA are not an inevitability. They are the result of choices, policies, and a collective apathy that must be confronted with unwavering resolve. A true call for change must begin with a demand for fundamental systemic reform. It is not enough to patch the holes in a sinking ship. We must rebuild the vessel on a foundation of accountability, transparency, and an absolute commitment to veteran-centric care. This is a moral imperative, a duty that falls upon every citizen who benefits from the freedoms our veterans have secured for us all. This reform must be comprehensive and bold. It requires a full and honest audit of the entire VA system, identifying the specific points of failure, from chronic underfunding and bureaucratic bottlenecks to the leadership that has allowed this culture of neglect to fester. We must demand that Congress provide consistent, robust, and intelligently allocated funding, not as a discretionary expense but as a sacred and non-negotiable cost of our national defense. This includes investing in modern infrastructure, competitive salaries to attract and retain top-tier medical talent, and cutting-edge technology that streamlines care and communication, finally putting an end to the archaic paper chase that plagues our veterans. Furthermore, accountability must become the new cornerstone of the VA. This means implementing clear performance metrics that are tied directly to patient outcomes and satisfaction, not just bureaucratic efficiency. It means creating and empowering a truly independent oversight body with the authority to investigate complaints, enforce standards, and remove failing administrators without delay. Veterans must have a clear and accessible process for appeals and grievances, one that is swift, fair, and free from retribution. The days of passing the buck and diffusing blame across a faceless system must end. It is time for a culture where every employee, from the front desk to the highest office, understands that their primary mission is to serve the veteran, period. This call for change is a call for our nation to live up to its own ideals. It is a demand that the promises made in recruitment offices and proclaimed in patriotic speeches are translated into tangible, reliable, and compassionate action. Our veterans did not give a partial commitment on the battlefield, and we must not offer them a partial commitment at home. We must raise our collective voice and insist that the system designed to care for our heroes becomes a source of national pride, not a symbol of national shame. The health and dignity of our defenders are at stake, and our silence is complicity in their continued betrayal.
This local, personal support is the tangible expression of a nation's gratitude. It is the human element that a bureaucratic system can never fully replicate. When a community wraps its arms around its veterans, it counteracts the dehumanizing experience of the broken system. It sends a powerful message that they are not forgotten, they are not just a number, and they are not alone in their fight. This groundswell of local action, combined with the demand for national reform, is how we truly answer the call for change. It is how we finally begin to deliver on the promise, not just with words, but with heartfelt, healing, and honorable deeds.
Beyond organized ministries, every individual has a part to play. It can be as simple as checking in on a veteran neighbor, offering to mow their lawn, or sharing a meal. It can mean business owners making a conscious effort to hire veterans, recognizing the incredible skills and discipline they bring to the workforce. It involves volunteering time or donating to local non-profits that provide direct services to veterans, from housing assistance to therapy dogs. This community-level support rebuilds the sense of belonging and camaraderie that so many veterans lose after their service, reminding them in a tangible way that their community sees them, values them, and stands ready to honor their sacrifice.
Faith-based organizations like El Shaddai Christian Ministries are uniquely positioned to answer this call. Churches, synagogues, and mosques can become true sanctuaries of healing and support. This means more than just offering prayers. It means taking concrete action. It means creating veteran-specific outreach programs, hosting support groups, providing transportation to VA appointments, and helping veterans and their families navigate the complex benefits system. It means training spiritual leaders and lay members in mental health first aid, equipping them to recognize the signs of distress and connect veterans with professional resources. Our houses of worship must be more than buildings. They must be active command posts of compassion and service.
While systemic reform at the national level is essential, the call for change echoes just as loudly through our own communities, neighborhoods, and local organizations. We cannot afford to wait for Washington to act. The work of uplifting our veterans must begin right here, right now, at the grassroots level. Every community has a role to play in bridging the gap between the VA's failures and a veteran's needs. This is where faith-based organizations, local charities, and individual citizens can make a profound and immediate difference. It is our responsibility to create a web of support so strong that no veteran who feels abandoned by the system ever feels abandoned by their neighbors.
If this message has touched your heart, do not let the feeling fade. Share this story. Let the voices of our veterans be heard in every corner of our nation. Reach out to the heroes in your life and let them know they are seen and appreciated. Support organizations that provide direct aid to our defenders. And most importantly, hold on to the promise that while systems may fail, faith endures. Thank you for joining Veterans Speak. We ask that you please like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel to help us continue to shine a light on these important issues. Together, we can ensure our heroes are never forgotten and never forsaken.
El Shaddai Christian Ministries is committed to standing in that gap, offering support, encouragement, and a reminder of God's unfailing love. But we cannot do it alone. You have the power to make a difference in the life of a veteran today, to be the hands and feet of Christ in your own community.
The brokenness of the VA system is a harsh and painful reality, a testament to how human institutions, even those founded with noble intentions, can falter and fail. We have journeyed through the labyrinth of waiting rooms, the mountains of paperwork, and the heartbreaking stories of neglect and betrayal. We have seen how the promise of a grateful nation has, for too many, become a source of profound spiritual and emotional pain. Yet, in the face of this systemic failure, a greater truth remains, a higher promise that cannot be broken or diminished by bureaucratic incompetence. While the systems of this world may forget, God never forgets his warriors. He sees their sacrifice, he hears their cries, and he knows their name. This is the ultimate anchor of hope in a sea of disappointment. The failures of the VA, as deep and wounding as they are, do not have the final say. For the veteran who feels like a number, faith reaffirms their infinite worth. For the one who feels abandoned, it offers the unwavering presence of a loving Father. This spiritual foundation is not an excuse for the system's failings, but a source of supernatural resilience to withstand them. It is the bedrock upon which a bruised spirit can be rebuilt, reminding every hero that their true identity and value are not determined by a case file or a disability rating, but by their standing as a cherished child of the Most High God. The journey toward healing and justice requires action on two fronts. We must continue to fight tirelessly for systemic reform, demanding accountability and raising our voices for those whose own have been silenced by exhaustion and despair. At the same time, we must reinforce the spiritual and communal safety nets that catch those who fall through the cracks. This is our shared mission.